I didn't. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody again to our Mahabharata recital reading. Um, we're currently on we've just dealt with the Abhimanyu Vad, the killing of Abhimanyu. And so we're now going to embark on a section which is not included in Vivek Debroy's edition. For some reason, in the critical edition which he follows, the editors have omitted this section. But in Ganguly's translation, which was done in the late 18th century, late, oh, not 1800s, so 19th century. So he didn't obviously use this critical edition because it wasn't done yet. So these are extra chapters, which will be interesting. So before I start, I'll say a Mangala Charana. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Mahabharata Drona Parva section 50. Sanjaya said, while Kunti's son Yudhishthira was indulging in such lamentations, the great Rishi Krishna Dvaipayana came to him, worshipping him duly and causing him to be seated. Yudhishthira, afflicted with grief on account of the death of his brother's son, said, alas, while battling with many mighty bowmen, the son of Subhadra, surrounded by several great car warriors of unrighteous propensities, hath been slain on the field. The slayer of hostile heroes, the son of Subhadra, was a child in years and of childish understanding. He fought in battle against desperate odds. I asked him to open a passage for us in battle. He penetrated within the hostile army, but we could not follow him, obstructed by the ruler of the Sindhus. That's Jayadratha. Alas, they that betake themselves to battle as a profession always fight with antagonists equally circumstanced with themselves. This battle, however, that the enemy fought with Abhimanyu was an extremely unequal one. It is that which grieves me greatly and draws tears from me. Thinking of this, I fail to regain peace of mind. Sanjaya continued. The illustrious Vyasa, addressing Yudhishthira, who was indulging in such lamentations and who was thus unmanned by an accession of sorrow, said these words. Vyasa said, O Yudhishthira, O thou of great wisdom, O thou that art master of all branches of knowledge, persons like thee never suffer themselves to be stupefied by calamities. This brave youth, having slain numerous foes, hath ascended to heaven. Indeed, that best of persons, though a child, acted, however, like one of matured years. O Yudhishthira, this law is incapable of being transgressed. O Bharata, death takes all gods and Danavas, and Gandharvas without exception. Yudhishthira said, Alas, these lords of earth that lie on the bare earth, slain in the midst of their forces, bereft of consciousness, were possessed of great might. Others of their class possessed strength equal to that of 10,000 elephants. Others, again, were endued with the impetuosity and might of the very wind. They have all perished in battle, slain by men of their own class. I do not behold the person, save one of their own class, who could slay any of them in battle. Endued with great prowess, they were possessed of great energy and great might. Alas, they who used to daily come to battle with this hope firmly implanted in their hearts, that they would conquer. Alas, even they, possessed of great wisdom, are lying on the field, struck with weapons, and deprived of life. The significance of the word death hath today been made intelligible, for these lords of earth, of terrible prowess, have almost all been dead. Those heroes are lying motionless, reft of vanity, having succumbed to foes. Many princes, filled with wrath, have been victimized before the fire of their enemies' wrath. A great doubt possesses me. Whence is death? Whose offspring is death? What is death? Why does death take away creatures? O grandsire, O thou that resemblest a god, tell me this. Sanjaya continued. Unto Kunti's son, Yudhishthira, asking him thus, the illustrious Rishi, comforting him, said these words. Vyasa said, As regards the matter in hand, O king, this ancient story of what Narada had in days of old said unto Akampana is cited. King Akampana, O monarch, I know, while in this world was afflicted with very great and unbearable grief on account of the death of his son. I will now tell these the excellent story about the origin of death. Having listened to it, thou wilt be emancipated from sorrow and the touch of affection's tie. Listen to me, O sire, as I recite this ancient history. This history is indeed excellent. It enhanceth the period of life, killeth grief, and conduceth to health. It is sacred, destructive of large bodies of foes, and auspicious of all auspicious things. Indeed, this history is even as the study of the Vedas. O monarch, it should every morning be listened to by the foremost of kings who are desirous of long-lived children and their own good. In days of old, O sire, there was a king named Akampana. Once, on the field of battle, he was surrounded by his foes and nearly overpowered by them. He had a son who was called Hari, equal to Narayana himself in might. That latter was exceedingly handsome, accomplished in wisdom, gifted with great intelligence, possessed of might, resembling Shakra himself in battle. Encompassed by countless foes on the field of battle, he sped thousands of shafts at those warriors and the elephants that surrounded him. Having achieved the most difficult feats in battle, O Yudhishthira, that scorcher of foes was at last slain in the midst of the army. Performing the obsequies of his son, King Akampana cleansed himself, Grieving, however, for his son day and night, the king failed to regain happiness of mind. Informed of his grief on account of the death of his son, the celestial Rishi, Narada, came to his presence. The blessed king, beholding the celestial Rishi, told the latter everything that had happened unto him, his defeat at the hands of his foes, and the slaughter of his son. And the king said, "My son was endued with great energy, and equaled Indra or Vishnu himself in splendor. That mighty son of mine, having displayed his prowess on the field against countless foes, was at last slain. O illustrious one, who is this death? What is the measure of his energy, strength, and prowess? O foremost of intelligent persons, I desire to hear all of this truly." Hearing these words of his, the boon-giving Lord Narada recited the following elaborate history, destructive of grief on account of a son's death. Narada said, "Listen, O mighty armed king, to this long history, exactly as I have heard it. O monarch, in the beginning, the grandsire Brahma created all creatures. Endued with mighty energy, he saw that the creation bore no signs of decay. Thereat, O king, the creator began to think about the destruction of the universe. Reflecting on the matter, O monarch, the creator failed to find any means of destruction. He then became angry, and in consequence of his anger, a fire sprang from the sky. That fire spread in all directions, for consuming everything of the universe. Then heaven, sky, and earth all became filled with fire. And thus the Creator began to consume the whole mobile and immobile universe. Thereby all creatures, mobile and immobile, were destroyed. Indeed, the mighty Brahma, frightening everything by the force of his wrath, did all this. Then Hara, otherwise called Sthanu or Shiva, with matted locks on his head, that lord of all wanderers of the night, appealed to the divine Brahma, the lord of gods. When Sthanu fell at Brahma's feet from the desire of doing good to all creatures, the supreme system of ascetics, blazing with splendor, said, "What wish of thine shall we accomplish? O thou that deservest to have all thy wishes fulfilled, O thou that hast been born of our wish, we shall do all that may be agreeable to thee. Tell us, O Sthanu, what is thy wish?" Section 51. Sthanu said, "O Lord, thou hast taken great care for creating divers creatures. Indeed, creatures of divers kinds were created and reared by thee. Those very creatures again are now being consumed through thy fire. Seeing this, I am filled with compassion. O illustrious Lord, be inclined to grace." Brahma said, "I had no desire of destroying the universe. I desired good of the earth, and it was for this that wrath possessed me. The goddess Earth, afflicted with the heavy weight of creatures, always urged me for destroying the creatures on her. Urged by her, I could not, however, find any means for the destruction of the infinite creation. This wrath possessed me." Rudra said, "Be inclined to grace, O Lord of the universe. Cherish not the wrath for the destruction of creatures. No more let creatures immobile and immobile be destroyed. Through thy grace, O illustrious one, let the threefold universe, the future, the past, and present exist. Thou, O Lord, hast blazed up with wrath. From that wrath of thine, a substance like fire sprang into existence. That fire is even now blasting rocks and trees and rivers and all kinds of herbs and grass. Indeed, that fire is exterminating the immobile and the mobile universe. The mobile and the immobile universe is being reduced to ashes. Be inclined to grace, O illustrious one. Do not give way to wrath. Even this is the boon I solicit. All created things, O divine being, belonging to thee, are being destroyed. Therefore, let thy wrath be appeased. Let it be annihilated in thy own self. Cast thy eye on thy creatures, inspired with the desire of doing them good. Do that by which creatures endued with life may not cease to be. Let not these creatures, with their productive powers weakened, be exterminated. O Creator of the worlds, thou hast appointed me their protector. O Lord of the universe, let not the mobile and immobile universe be destroyed. Thou art inclined to grace, and it is for this that I say these words unto thee. Narada continued, hearing these words of Mahadeva, the divine Brahma, from desire of benefiting creatures, held in his own inner self his wrath that had been roused. Extinguishing the fire, the divine benefactor of the world, the great master, declared the duties of production and emancipation. And while the supreme deity exterminated that fire, born of his wrath, there came out from the doors of his diverse senses a female who was dark and red and tawny, whose tongue and face and eyes were red, and who was decked with two brilliant earrings and divers other brilliant ornaments. Issuing out of his body, she smilingly looked at those two lords of the universe and then set out for the southern quarter. Then Brahma, that controller of the creation and destruction of the worlds, called after her by the name of death. And Brahma, O king, said unto her, slay these creatures of mine. Thou hast been born of that wrath of mine which I cherished for the destruction of the universe. By doing this, kill all creatures, including idiots and seers at my command. By doing this, thou wilt be benefited. Thou lotus lady called Death, that lotus lady called Death, thus addressed by him, reflected deeply, and then helplessly wept aloud in melodious accents. The grandsire then caught the tears she had shed with his two hands for the benefit of all creatures and began to implore her. Shall I read one more? I don't mind.
I think you should definitely. Thank
All right,
you.
I'll read one more, and then when I come draw towards the end of that one, Karnai, you should get ready. So, section 52. Narada said, the helpless lady, suppressing her arrow within her own self, addressed with joined hands the Lord of creation, bending with humility like a creeper, and she said, O foremost of speakers, created by thee, how shall I, being a female, do such a cruel and evil act, knowing it to be cruel and evil? I fear unrighteousness greatly. O divine Lord, be inclined to grace. Sons and friends and brothers and sires and husbands are always dear. If I kill them, they who will suffer these losses will seek to injure me. It is this that I fear. The tears that will fall from the eyes of the woe-stricken and weeping persons inspire me with fear. O Lord, I seek thy protection. O divine being, O foremost of gods, I will not go to Yama's abode. O boon-giving one, I implore thee, or thy grace, bowing my head and joining my palms. O grandsire of the world, I solicit the accomplishment of even this wish at thy hands. Footnote. The first line of 6 is read differently in the Bombay edition. Bengal reading, however, seems to be preferable. Both the Bengal and Bombay editions in the first line of 12 read prita, i.e. gratified. There can be no doubt, however, that the correct reading is bhitta, i.e. affrighted, as I have put it. I find that some of the Bengali translators have also made this correction. End of footnote. I desire, with thy permission, to undergo ascetic penances. O Lord of created things, grant me this boon. O divine being, O great master, permitted by thee, I will go to the excellent asylum of Denuka. Engaged in adoring thyself, I will undergo the severest austerities there. I will not be able, O Lord of gods, to take away the dear life breaths of living creatures weeping in sorrow. Protect me from unrighteousness. Brahma said, O death, thou hast been intended for achieving the destruction of creatures. Go, destroy all creatures. Thou needest have no scruples. Even this must be. It cannot be otherwise. Do but my behest. Nobody in the world will find any fault in thee. Narada continued. Thus addressed, that lady became very much affrighted. Looking at Brahma's face, she stood with joined hands. From desire of doing good to creatures, she did not set her heart upon mere destruction. The divine Brahma also, that Lord of all creatures, remained silent. And soon the grandsire became gratified in his own self, and casting his eyes upon all the creatures, he smiled. And thereupon creatures continued to live as before, unaffected by premature death. And upon that invincible and illustrious Lord having shaken off his wrath, that damsel left the presence of that wise deity, leaving Brahma without having agreed to destroy creatures. The damsel called Death speedily proceeded to the retreat called Denuka. Arrived there, she practiced excellent and highly austere vows, and she stood there on one leg for 16 billion of years, and 5 times 10 billions also, through pity for living creatures, and from desire of doing good to them, doing good, and all the time restraining her senses from their favorite objects. And once again, O king, she stood there on one leg for 21 times 10 billion of years. And then she wandered for 10 times 10,000 billion of years with the creatures of the earth. Next, repairing to the sacred Nanda that was full of cool and pure water, she passed in those waters 8,000 years. Observing rigid vows at Nanda, she cleansed herself of all her sins. Then she proceeded, first of all, to the sacred Kaushiki, observant of vow. Living upon air and water only, she practiced austerities there. Repairing then to Pancha Ganga and next to Vetasa, that cleansed damsel by special austerities emaciated her own body. Going next to the Ganga and thence to the great Meru, she remained motionless like a stone, suspending her life breath. Thence going to the top of Himavat, where the gods had performed their sacrifice in days of yore, that amiable and auspicious girl remained for 1 billion of years standing on the toe only of her feet. Wending then to Pushkara and Gokarna and Naimisha and Malaya, she emaciated her body, practicing austerities agreeable to her heart, without acknowledging any other god. With steady devotion to the grandsire, she lived and gratified the grandsire in every way. Then the unchangeable creator of the worlds, gratified, said unto her with a softened and delighted heart, O death, why dost thou undergo ascetic austerities so severe? Thus addressed, Death said unto the divine grandsire, Creatures, O Lord, are living in health. They do not injure one another, even by words. I shall not be able to slay them. O Lord, I desire even this boon at thy hands. I fear sin, and it is for this that I am engaged in ascetic austerities. O Blessed One, undertake to remove for ever my fears. I am a woman in distress and without fault. I beg thee, be thou protector. Unto her the divine Brahma, acquainted with the past, the present, and the future, said, Thou shalt commit no sin, O death, by slaying these creatures. My words can never be futile, O amiable one. Therefore, O auspicious damsel, slay these creatures of 4 kinds. Eternal virtue shall always be thine. That regent of the world, Yama, and the diverse disease shall become thy helpmates. I myself and all the gods will grant thee boons, so that, freed from sin and perfectly cleansed, thou mayest even acquire glory. Thus addressed, O monarch, that lady, joining her hands, once more said these words, seeking her grace by bowing down unto him with her head. If, O Lord, this is not to be without me, this is not to be without me, then thy command I place upon my head. Listen, however, to what I say. Let covetousness, wrath, malice, jealousy, quarrel, folly, and shamelessness, and other stern passions tear the bodies of all embodied creatures. Brahma said, It will be, O death, as thou sayest. Meanwhile, slay creatures duly. Sin shall not be thine, nor shall I seek to injure thee. O auspicious one, those teardrops of thine that are in my hands, even they will become diseases springing from living creatures themselves. They will kill men, and if men are killed, sin shall not be thine. Therefore, do not fear. Indeed, sin shall not be thine. Devoted to righteousness and observant of thy duty, thou shalt sway all creatures. Therefore, take thou always the lives of these living creatures. Casting off both desire and wrath, take thou the life of all living creatures. Even thus will eternal virtue be thine. Sin will slay those that are of wicked behavior. By doing my bidding, cleanse thyself. It will be thine to sink them in their sins that are wicked. Therefore, cast off both desire and wrath, and kill these creatures endued with life. Narada continued, that damsel, seeing that she was persistently called by the name of death, feared to act otherwise. And in terror also of Brahma's curse, she said, Yes, unable to do otherwise. She began casting off desire and wrath to take the lives of living creatures. when time came for their dissolution. It is only living creatures that die. Diseases spring from living creatures themselves. Disease is the abnormal condition of creatures. They are pained by it. Therefore, indulge not in fruitless grief for creatures after they are dead. The senses, upon the death of all of creatures, go with the latter to the other world, and achieving their respective functions, once more come back with creatures when the latter are reborn. Thus all creatures, O lion among beings, the very gods included, going thither, have to act like mortals. The wind that is awful, of terrible roars and great strength, omnipresent and endued with infinite energy, it is the wind that will rive the bodies of living creatures. It will, in this manner, put forth no active energy, nor will it suspend its functions, but do this naturally. Even all the gods have the appellation of mortals attached to them. Therefore, O lion among kings, do not grieve for thy son. Repairing to heaven, the son of thy body is passing his days in perpetual happiness, having obtained those delightful regions that are for heroes. Casting off all sorrow, he hath attained to the companionship of the righteous. Death hath been ordained by the Creator himself for all creatures. When their hour comes, creatures are destroyed duly. The death of creatures arises from the creatures themselves. Creatures kill themselves. Death doth not kill anyone, armed with her bludgeon. Therefore they that are wise, truly knowing death to be inevitable, because ordained by Brahma himself, never grieve for creatures that are dead. Knowing this, death to be ordained by the Supreme God, cast off without delay thy grief for thy dead son. Vyasa continued, hearing these words of grave import spoken by Narada, King Akampana addressed his friend, addressing his friend, said, O illustrious one, O foremost of Rishi, my grief is gone, and I am contented. Hearing this history from thee, I am grateful to thee, and I worship thee. That foremost of superior rishis, that celestial ascetic of immeasurable soul, thus addressed by the king, proceeded to the woods of Nandana. The frequent recital of this history for the hearing of others, as also the frequent hearing of this history, is regarded as cleansing, leading to fame and heaven, and worthy of approbation. It enhanceth, besides, the period of life. Having listened to this instructive story, cast off thy grief, O Yudhishthira, reflecting besides on the duties of a Kshatriya and the high state of blessedness attainable by heroes. Abhimanyu, that mighty car warrior, endued with mighty energy, having slain numerous foes before the gaze of all bowmen, hath attained to heaven. The great bowman, that mighty car warrior, struggling on the field, hath fallen in the battle, struck with sword and mace and dart and bow. Sprung from Soma, he hath disappeared in the lunar essence, cleansed of all his impurities. Therefore, O son of Pandu, mustering all thy fortitude, thyself with thy brothers, without allowing your senses to be stupefied, speedily set out, inflamed with rage for battle. There.
Wonderfully read.
We'll have
Thank
maybe some discussion on this later.
Definitely. Okay. Let's do it.
Yes, that
Oh,
was monumental. And yeah, on to the next bit. Well done.
um, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Section 53. Sanjaya said,
Kano, can I just say
yeah,
one thing? And I hope I don't hurt your feelings. But when you say Om Namo
yeah.
Bhagavate, it's Vasudevaya. There's no
Oh, all right. Didn't know that. Yeah,
Okay,
thanks.
all right.
Thanks for that.
Okay, sorry about
Sanjaya said, no, that's all right. Sanjaya said, hearing of the origin of death and her strange acts, King Yudhisthira, humbly addressing Vyasa, once more said these words unto him. Yudhisthira said, many kings there were in blessed countries, excuse me, of righteous deeds and of prowess equal to that of Indra himself. There were royal sages, O regenerate one, that were sinless and truth-speaking. Once more, address me in words of grave import and console me with accounts of the feats of those royal sages of ancient times. What was the measure of the sacrificial gifts made by them? Who were those high-souled royal sages of righteous deeds that made them? Tell me all this, O illustrious one. Vyasa said, there was a king of the name of Switya. He had a son who was called Srinjaya. The rishis Narada and Parvata were his friends. One day, the two ascetics, for paying Srinjaya a visit, came to his palace. Duly worshipped by Srinjaya, they became pleased with him and continued to live with him happily. Once on a time, as Srinjaya was seated at his case with the two ascetics, his beautiful daughter of sweet smiles came to him. Saluted with reverence by his daughter, Srinjaya delighted that girl standing by his side with proper benedictions of the kind she desired. Beholding that maiden, Parvata smilingly asked Srinjaya, saying, whose daughter is this damsel of restless glances and possessed of every auspicious mark? Is she the splendor of Surya, or the flame of Agni? Or is she any of these? Is Shri, Hri, Kriti, Kirti, Driti, Pushti, Siddhi, and the splendor of Soma? Some names. After the celestial Rishi Parvata said these words, King Srinjaya answered, saying, O illustrious one, this girl is my daughter. She beggeth my blessings. Then Narada addressed King Srinjaya and said, if, O monarch, thou wishest for great good to thyself, then give this daughter of thine unto me for a wife. Delighted with the Rishi's proposal, Srinjaya addressed Narada, saying, I give her unto thee. At this, the other Rishi, viz. Parvata, indignantly addressed Narada, saying, chosen before this by me within my heart, thou hast taken this damsel as thy wife. And since thou hast done this, thou, O Brahmana, shalt not go to heaven as thy will. Thus addressed by him, Narada answered him, saying, the husband's heart and speech directed thereto, the giver's consent, the speeches of both, the actual gift made by sprinkling water, and the recital of the mantras ordained for the seizure of the bride's hand, these have been declared to be indications by which one is constituted husband. Even this ceremonial is not all. That which above all is essential is the walk for 7 paces by the bride in circumambulating the bridegroom. Without these, thy purpose about marriage have been unaccomplished. Thou hast cursed. Therefore, thou also shalt not go to heaven without me. Having cursed each other, those two rishis continued to live there. Meanwhile, King Srinjaya, desirous of obtaining a son, began, with cleansed soul, to carefully entertain the Brahmanas, to the utmost of his power, with food and robes. After a certain time, those foremost of Brahmanas, devoted to the study of the Vedas and fully conversant with those scriptures and their branches, became gratified with that monarch, desirous of getting a son. Together they came to Narad and said unto him, who said this? After sometimes foremost Brahmanas. Okay. Give this king a son of the kind he desires. Thus addressed by the Brahmanas, Narada replied unto them, saying, So be it. And then the celestial rishi addressed Srinjaya, saying, O royal sage, excuse me, I don't know why I came out about that. O royal sage, the Brahmanas have been pleased, and they wish thee a son. Excuse me. Solicit thou the boon. Blessed be thou about the kind of son thou desirest. Thus addressed by him, the king, with joined hands, asked for a son possessed of every accomplishment, famous, of glorious feats, of great energy, and capable of chastising all foes. And he further asked that the urine, the excreta, the phlegm, and the sweat of that child should be gold. And in due time the king had a son born unto him, who came to be named Suvarnashtivin on earth. And in consequence of the boon, that child began to increase his father's wealth beyond all limits, and King Srinjaya caused all his houses and walls and forts, and the houses of all Brahmanas within his dominions, and his beds, vehicles, plates, and all manners of pots and cups, and palaces that he owned, and all implements and utensils, domestic and otherwise, were made of gold. And in time his stock increased. Then certain robbers, hearing of the prince and seeing him to be such, assembled together and sought to injure the king. And some amongst them said, We will seize the king's son himself. He is his father's mine of gold. Towards that end, therefore, we should strive. Then those robbers, inspired with avarice, penetrating into the king's palace, forcibly took away Prince Suvarnashtivin. Suvarnashtivin. Having seized and taken him to the woods, those senseless idiots, inspired with avarice, but ignorant of what to do with him, slew him there and cut his body in fragments. They saw not, however, any gold in him. After the prince was slain, all the gold obtained in consequence of the rishi's boon disappeared. The ignorant and senseless robbers struck one another, and striking one another thus, they perished, and with them that wonderful prince on the earth. And those men of wicked deeds sank in an unimaginable and awful hell. Seeing that son of his, obtained through the rishi's boon, thus slain, that great ascetic, King Srinjaya, afflicted with deep sorrow, began to lament in piteous accents. Beholding the king afflicted with grief on account of his son, and thus weeping, the celestial rishi Narada showed himself in his presence. Listen, O Yudhishthira, to what Narada said unto Srinjaya, having approached that king, who, afflicted with grief and deprived of his senses, was indulging in piteous lamentations. Narada said, Srinjaya, with thy desires unfulfilled, thou shalt have to die, although we utterers of Brahma live in thy house. Avikshit's son Marutta even, O Srinjaya, we here had to die. Is this word peaked? Piqued. Don't know what that is. Peaked. Peaked with Vrihaspati. He had caused
Offended.
Samvata.
Offended.
Right. Is that the word though? Peaked. Okay. Offended. He had caused Samvata in himself to officiate at his great sacrifices. And to that royal sage, the illustrious Lord Mahadeva himself had given wealth in the shape of a golden plateau of Himavat. With that wealth, King Maruta had performed diverse sacrifices. So this is like Narad speaking to King Srinjaya. Unto him, after the completion of his sacrifices, diverse tribes of celestials, those creators of the universe, with Indra himself in their company, and with Vrihaspati at their head, used to come. All the carpets and furnitures of his sacrificial compound were of gold, The regenerate classes, desirous of food, all ate as they pleased at his sacrifices, food that was clean and agreeable to their desires. And in all his sacrifices, milk and cards and clarified butter and honey and other kinds of food and edibles, all of the best order, and robes and ornaments, covetable for their costliness, gratified Brahmanas, thoroughly conversant with the Vedas. The very good gods used to become distributors of food in King Maruta's palace. The Vishwadevas were the courtiers of that royal sage, the son of Avikshit. By him were gratified the denizens of heaven with libations of clarified butter, and gratified therewith these, in their turn, increased that powerful ruler's wealth of crops with copious showers of rain. He always contributed to the gratification of the rishis, the pitris, and the gods, and thereby made them happy by practicing brahmacharya, study of the Vedas, obsequial rites, and all kinds of gifts. And his beds and carpets and vehicles and his vast stores of gold, difficult to be given away, in fact, all that untold wealth of his was given away voluntarily unto the Brahmanas. Shakra himself used to wish him well. His subjects were made happy by him, acting always with piety. He ultimately repaired to those eternal regions of bliss acquired by his religious merit. With his children and counselors and wives, and descendants and kinsmen, King Maruta, in his youth, ruled his kingdom for 1,000 years. When such a king, O Srinjaya, died, who was superior to thee, in respect of the 4 cardinal virtues, viz., ascetic penances, truth, compassion, and liberality, and who, superior to thee, was much superior to thy son. Do not grieve, saying, O Swaitya, for thy son who performed no sacrifice and gave no sacrificial present. Next, chapter 54. Narad said, so, King Suhotra, also Srinjaya, we hear, fell a prey to death. He was the foremost of heroes, and invincible in battle. The very gods used to come for seeing him, acquiring his kingdom virtuously. He sought the advice of his Ritvijas and domestic priests and Brahmanas for his own good, and inquiring of them, used to obey their behests. Well acquainted with the duty of protecting his subjects, possessed of virtue and liberality, performing sacrifices and subjugating foes, King Suhotra wished for the increase of his wealth. He adored the gods by following the ordinances of the scriptures and defeated his foes by means of his arrows. He gratified all creatures by means of his own excellent accomplishments. He ruled the earth, freeing her from lechers and forest thieves. The deity of the clouds showered gold unto him from year's end to year's end. In those olden days, therefore, the rivers in his kingdom ran liquid gold and were open to everybody for use. The deity of the clouds showered on his kingdom large number of alligators and crabs and fishes of diverse species and various objects of desire, countless in number, that were all made of gold. The artificial lakes in that king's dominions each measured full 2 miles, beholding thousands of dwarfs and humpbacks and alligators and makaras and tortoises all made of gold. King Suhotra wondered much. That unlimited wealth of gold, the royal sage Suhotra, performing a sacrifice at Kurujangala, gave away unto the Brahmanas before the completion of the sacrifice. So that he gave away, what he gave away was that unlimited wealth of gold, which was at the beginning of a very long sentence. Having performed 1,000 horse sacrifices, 100 rajasuyas, many sacred kshatriya sacrifices, in all of which he made abundant presents to the Brahmanas, and having performed daily rites, almost countless in number, undergone from specified desires, the king ultimately obtained a very desirable end. When, O Srinjaya, such a king died, who was superior to thee as regards the four cardinal virtues, and who, superior to thee, was therefore much superior to thy son, thou shouldest not grieve, saying, O Swaitya, for thy son performed no sacrifice and made no sacrificial present. I'll read another one. It's a short chapter, and let's see if anyone wants to read soon. Chapter 57, I think. LVII. Narad said, the heroic Paulava also, O Srinjaya, we hear fell a prey to death. He's telling stories about previous kings who fell to death, right? Yeah. Narad to Srinjaya. So Narad said, the heroic king Paulava also, O Srinjaya, we hear fell a prey to death. That king gave away 1,000 times 1,000 horses that were all white in hue. At the horse sacrifice performed by that royal sage, countless number of learned brahmanas versed in the principles of shiksha and akshara came from diverse realms. These brahmanas, purified by the Vedas, by knowledge and by vows, and liberal and of agreeable countenances, having obtained from the king costly gifts, such as robes and houses and excellent beds and carpets and vehicles and draft cattle, were always delighted by actors and dancers and singers, thoroughly competent and well versed in their respective art, engaged in sport and ever striving for their diversion. At each of his sacrifices, in due time, he gave away as sacrificial presents 10,000 elephants of golden splendor, with the temporal juice trickling down their bodies, and cars made of gold with standards and banners. He also gave away as sacrificial presents 1,000 times 1,000 maidens decked with ornaments of gold and cars and steeds and elephants for mounting and houses and fields and hundreds of kine by hundreds of thousands and with thousands cowherds decked with gold. They that are acquainted with the history of the past sing this song, is that in that sacrifice King Polava gave away kine with calves, having golden horns and silver hoofs and brass milk pots, and female slaves and male slaves, and asses and camels and sheep, countless in number, and diverse kinds of gems, and diverse hill-like mounds of food. That sacrificing king of the Angas successfully performed in the order of their merit and according to what was competent for his own class, many auspicious sacrifices capable of yielding every object of desire. When such a king, O Srinjaya, died, who was superior to thee as regards the four cardinal virtues, and who, superior to thee, was therefore much superior to thy son, thou shouldest not say, saying, O Swaitya, grief for thy son who performed no sacrifice and made no sacrificial present. Do apologize. Sometimes the sentences are a little bit. I think it's just because it's the website version. So sometimes I deal with that. Thou shouldest not grieve. And it's saying, O Swaitya, for thy son who performed no sacrifice and made no sacrifice. So next chapter is another short chapter. I can probably understand actually why this would be not in the edition that you talked about before. Chapter 58.
It's quite a stylistic variation, isn't it, from the rest of it?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not get diverse on that. If anyone's not going to take over, read the next one.
Yeah, if anyone wants to just take over soon, any point, there's short chapters. What's the next chapter? It's also short.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll do one more.
that's 58.
Yes. Narad said, Ushinada's son Shivi also, Okshinjaya, we hear, fell a prey to death. That king had, as it were, put a leathern girdle around the earth, making the earth with her mountains and islands and seas and forests resound with the clatter of his car. The vanquisher of foes is King Shivi, who always slew the foremost of foes. He performed many sacrifices with presents in profusion unto the Brahmanas. That monarch of great prowess and great intelligence had acquired enormous wealth. In battle, he won the applause of all Kshatriyas. Having brought the whole earth under subjection, he performed many horse sacrifices without any obstruction, which were productive of great merit, giving away as sacrificial present 1,000 crores of golden nishkas, and many elephants and steeds, and other kinds of animals, much grain, and many deer and sheep. King Shivi gave away the sacred earth consisting of diverse kinds of soil unto the Brahmanas. Indeed, Ushinara's son Shivi gave away as many kine as the number of raindrops showered on the earth, or the number of stars in the firmament, or the number of sand grains, or the bed of Ganga, or the number of rocks that constitute the mountain called Meru, or the number of gems or of aquatic animals in the ocean. The Creator himself hath not met with and will not meet within the past, the present, or the future another king capable of bearing the burdens that King Shivi bore. Many were the sacrifices with every kind of rites that King Shivi performed. In those sacrifices, the stakes, the carpets, the houses, the walls and the arches were all made of gold. The stakes, carpets, houses, walls, and the arches were all made of gold. Food and drink, agreeable to the taste and perfectly clean, were kept in profusion, and the Brahmanas that repaired to them could be counted by myriads and myriads, abounding with the viands of every description. Nothing but agreeable words such as give away and take were heard there. Milk and curds were collected in large lakes. In his sacrificial compound there were rivers of drink and white hills of food. Bathe and drink and eat as ye like. These were the only words heard there. Gratified with his righteous deeds, Rudra granted Shivi a boon, saying, As thou givest away, let thy wealth, thy devotion, thy fame, thy religious acts, the love that all creatures bear thee, and the heaven thou attain be all inexhaustible. Having obtained all these desirable boons, even Shivi, when the time came, left this world for heaven. When, O Srinjaya, he died, who was superior to thee, was much superior to thy son, thou shouldest not, saying, O Swaitya, grieve for thy son, who performed no sacrifice and made no sacrificial present. I shall yield to the next reader.
Okay.
Oh, Mark's gonna come. Yeah,
I've got it.
well done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice. Beautiful. Hare Krishna. This is section 59. Hare Krishna. Narada said, Rama, the son of Dasarat, O Srinjaya, we hear, fell prey to death. His subjects were as much delighted with him as a sire is delighted with the children of his loins. Endued with immeasurable energy, countless virtues were there in him. Of unfading glory, Rama, the elder brother of Lakshmana, at the command of his father, lived for 14 years in the woods with his wife. That bull among men slew in Janastana 14,000 Rakshasas for the protection of the ascetics. While living there, the Rakshasa called Ravana, beguiling both him and his companion Lakshmana, abducted his wife, the princess of Videha. Like the three-eyed Mahadeva in days of old, slaying the Asura Andaka, Rama, in wrath, slew in battle that offender of Pulastya's race, who had never before been vanquished by any foe. Indeed, the mighty armed Rama slew in battle that descendant of Pulastya's race with all his kinsmen and followers, that Rakshasa who was incapable of being slain by the gods and the Asuras together, that wretch who was a thorn unto the gods and to the Brahmanas. In consequence of his affectionate treatment of his subjects, the celestials worshipped Rama, filling the entire earth with his achievements. He was much applauded even by the celestial rishis. Compassionate unto all creatures, that king, having acquired diverse realms and protected his subjects virtuously, performed a great sacrifice without obstruction. And the Lord Rama also performed 100 horse sacrifices, and the great sacrifice called Jarutya. And with libations of clarified butter, he contributed to Indra's delight. And by these acts of his, Rama conquered hunger and thirst and all the diseases to which living creatures are subject. Possessed of every accomplishment, he always blazed forth with his own energy. Indeed, Rama, the son of Dasarat, greatly outshone all creatures. When Rama ruled his kingdom, the rishis, the gods, and men all lived together on the earth. The lives of living creatures were never otherwise. The life breaths, also called prana, apana, samana, and the others. When Rama ruled his kingdom, all performed their functions. All luminous bodies shone brighter, and calamities never occurred. All his subjects were long-lived. None died in youth. The dwellers of heaven, highly gratified, used to get, according to the ordinances of the 4 Vedas, libations of clarified butter and other offerings of food made by men. His realms were free from flies and gnats, and of beasts of prey and poisonous reptiles there were none. And none was of unrighteous tendencies, none was covetous, and none was ignorant. The subjects of all the 4 orders were engaged in righteous and desirable acts. When the Rakshasas, about this time, obstructed the offerings to the Pitris and the worship of the gods in Janasthana, Lord Rama, slaying them, caused those offerings and that worship to be once more given to the Pitris. And the gods. Men were each blessed with 1,000 children, and the period of their lives was 1,000 years. Seniors had never to perform shraddhas of their juniors. Youthful in shape, of a dark hue, of red eyes, possessed of the tread of an infuriated elephant, with arms reaching down to the knees, and beautiful and massive, of leonine shoulders, of great strength, and beloved by all creatures, Rama ruled his kingdom for 11,000 years. His subjects always uttered his name. While Rama ruled his kingdom, the world became extremely beautiful. Taking at last his 4 kinds of subjects with him, Rama went to heaven, having established his own line of 8 houses on the earth. When even he died, O Srinjaya, who was superior to thee in respect of the 4 cardinal virtues, and superior to thy son, thou shouldst not lament, saying, O Swaitya, for thy son who performed no sacrifice and made no sacrificial present. Section 60. Narada said, even King Bhagirath, O Srinjaya, we hear, was dead. He caused the shores of Ganga, called after his name Bhagirath, to be covered with flights of steps made of gold. Surpassing all kings and all princes, he gave unto the Brahmanas 1,000 times 1,000 damsels decked with ornaments of gold. All those damsels were upon cars, and unto every car were yoked 4 steeds. Behind each car were 100 kine, and behind each cow were many goats and sheep. King Bhagirath gave enormous presents at his sacrifices. For that reason, a large concourse of men assembled there, afflicted there with Ganga, was much pained. Protect me, she said, and sat down on his lap. And because Ganga thus sat upon his lap in days of old, therefore she, like the celestial dancer Urvashi, came to be regarded as his daughter, and was named after his name. And Having become the king's daughter, she became his son. She became his son by becoming like a son, the means of salvation unto his deceased ancestors. I guess that's the word like putra. Sweet-speeched Gandharvas of celestial splendor, gratified, sang all this in the hearing of the rishis, the gods, and the human beings. Thus, O Srinjaya, did that goddess, the ocean-going Ganga, select Lord Bhagirata, descendant of Ikshvaku, the performer of sacrifices, with profuse gifts to the Brahmanas, as her father. His sacrifices were always graced with the presence of the very gods, with Indra at their head, and the gods used to take their respective shares by removing all impediments to facilitate those sacrifices in every way. Possessed of great ascetic merit, Bhagirata gave unto the Brahmanas whatever benefit they desired, without obliging them to stir from the place wherever they might entertain those desires. There was nothing which he could withhold from the Brahmanas. Everyone received from him everything he coveted. At last the king ascended to that region of Brahman through the grace of the Brahmanas. For that object on which the rishis that subsisted on the rays of the sun used to wait upon the sun and the presiding deity of the sun, for that very object they used to wait upon the Lord Bhagirata, that ornament of the three worlds. When he died, O Srinjaya, who was superior to thee as regards the four cardinal virtues, and who, superior to thee, was much superior to thy son, thou shouldst not grieve, saying, O Swaitya, for the latter who performed no sacrifice and made no sacrificial present. Section 61. Narada said, Dilipa, the son of Ilavila, Dilipa, the son of Ilavila, too, O Srinjaya, we hear, fell prey to death. Brahmanas vested in knowledge of truth, devoted to the performance of sacrifices, blessed with children and children's children, and numbering myriads upon myriads, were present at his hundreds of sacrifices. King Dilipa, having performed various sacrifices, gave away this earth filled with treasures unto the Brahmanas. At the sacrifices of Dilipa, the roads were made of gold. The very gods with Indra at their head used to come to him, regarding him as Dharma himself. The upper and lower rings of his sacrificial stake were made of gold. Eating his raga kandavas, many persons at his sacrifices were seen to lie down on the roads. While battling over the waters, the two wheels of Dilipa's car never sank in that liquid. This seemed exceedingly wonderful and never occurred to other kings. Even those that saw King Dilipa, that firm bowman, always truthful in speech and giving away profuse gifts at his sacrifices, succeeded in ascending to heaven. In the abode of Dilipa, called also Katanga, these five sounds were always to be heard: the sound of Vedic recitations, the twang of bows, and drink, enjoy, and eat. And when he died, O Srinjaya, who was superior to thee in every respect of the four cardinal virtues, and who, superior to thee, was much superior to thy son, thou shouldst not, saying, O Shwaitya, grieve for thy son, who performed no sacrifice and made no sacrificial gifts. Section 62. Narada said, Mandatri, the son of Yuvanasva, O Srinjaya, we hear, fell a prey to death. That king vanquished the gods, the asuras, and men. Those celestials, the twin Ashwins, brought him out of his father's womb by surgical operations. Once upon a time, King Yuvanasva, while chasing the deer in the forest, became very thirsty, and his steeds also became exceedingly fatigued. Beholding a wreath of smoke, the king, directed by it, went to a sacrifice and drank the sacred sacrificial butter that lay scattered there. The king thereupon conceived. Beholding that Yuvanasva was quick with child, those best of physicians the twin Ashwins among the celestials, extracted the child from the king's womb. Seeing that child of celestial splendor lying on the lap of his father, the gods said unto one another, what shall support this child? Then Vasava said, let the child suck my fingers. Thereupon, from the fingers of Indra issued milk, sweet as nectar. And since Indra, from compassion, said, he will draw his sustenance from me, and showed him that kindness, therefore the gods named that child Mandatri, literally having me for his sustainer. Then jets of milk and clarified butter dropped into the mouth of Yuvanasva's son from the hand of the high-souled Indra. The boy continued to suck the hand of Indra, and by that means to grow. In 12 days he became 12 cubits in stature and endued with great prowess. And he conquered the whole world, the whole of this earth, in the course of a single day. Of virtuous soul, possessed of great intelligence, heroic, devoted to truth, and a master of his passions, Mandatri vanquished by his bow, Janamejaya and Sudanwan, and Jaya and Suna, and Vrihadrata and Nriga, and the lands lying between the hill where the sun rises and the hill where he sets are known to this day as the dominion of Mandatri. Having performed 100 horse sacrifices and 100 Rajasuya sacrifices also, he gave away, O monarch, unto the Brahmanas some Rohita fish made of gold, that were 10 yojanas in length and 1 yojana in breadth, mountains of savory food and comestibles of diverse kinds, after the Brahmanas had been entertained, were eaten by others who came to the sacrifice and contributed to their gratification. Vast quantities of food and edibles and drink and mountains of rice looked beautiful as they stood. Many rivers, having lakes of clarified butter, with diverse kinds of soup for their mire, curds for their froth, and liquid honey for their water, looking beautiful and wafting honey and milk, encircled mountains of solid viands. Gods and asuras and men and yakshas and gandharvas and snakes and birds and many brahmanas accomplished in the Vedas and their branches, and many rishis came to his sacrifices. Among those present there, none was illiterate. King Mandatri, having bestowed the earth bounded by the seas and full of wealth upon the brahmanas, at last disappeared like the sun. Filling all the points of the compass with his fame, he repaired to the regions of the righteous. When he died, O Srinjaya, who excelled thee in the 4 cardinal virtues, and who, superior to thee, was much superior to thy son, thou shouldst not grieve, saying, O Swaitya, for the latter, who performed no sacrifice and made no sacrificial gift. Shall I continue? Okay, I think that is a yes then.
I guess so. There's just
Okay.
Dina still to have a go. We can
Okay.
carry on until Dina will show himself when he wants to read.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a very
Maybe.
short chapter
Maybe.
now. Anyway, there's short chapters coming. Okay, I'll continue. Hare Krishna. Section 63. Narada said, Yayati, the son of Nahusha, O Srinjaya, we hear, fell prey to death, having performed 100 Rajasuyas, 100 horse sacrifices, 100 Pundarikas, 100 Vajpayas, 100 Atiratas, innumerable Chaturmasyas, diverse Agnishtomas, and many other kinds of sacrifices, in all of which he made profuse gifts unto the Brahmanas. He gave away unto the Brahmanas, having counted it first, the whole of the wealth that existed on the earth in the possession of mlechas and other Brahmana-hating people. When the gods and the asuras were arrayed for battle, King Yayati aided the gods. Having divided the earth into 4 parts, he gave it away into 4 unto 4 persons. Having performed various sacrifices and virtuously begotten excellent offspring upon his wives Devayani, the daughter of Usanas, and Sarmista, King Yayati, who was like unto a celestial, roved through the celestial woods at his own pleasure, like a second Vasava, acquainted with all the Vedas. When, however, he found that he was not satiated with the indulgence of his passions, he then, with his wives, retired into the forest, saying this: whatever of paddy and wheat and gold and animals and women there are on earth, even the whole of these is not sufficient for one man. Thinking of this, one should cultivate contentment, thus abandoning all his desires and attaining to contentment. The Lord Yayati, installing his son on the throne, retired into the forest. When he died, O Srinjaya, who was superior to thee in respect to the 4 cardinal virtues, and who, superior to thee, was much superior to thy son, thou shouldst not, saying, O Swaitya, grieve for the latter, who performed no sacrifice and made no sacrificial present. Okay, I'll continue. It's a short. This is section 64. Narada said, Nabaga's son, Amvarisha, O Srinjaya, we hear, fell prey to death. Alone he battled 1,000 times with 1,000 kings. Desirous of victory, those foes accomplished in weapons rushed against him in battle from all sides, uttering fierce exclamations. Aided by his strength and activity and the skill he had acquired by practice, he cut off by force of his weapons the umbrellas, the weapons, the standards, the cars, and the lances of those enemies, and dispelled his anxieties. Desirous of saving their lives, those men, doffing their coats of mail, implored him for mercy. They sought his protection, saying, we yield ourselves to thee. Reducing them to subjection and conquering the whole earth, he performed 100 sacrifices of the best kind, according to the rites ordained in the scriptures. O sinless one, food possessed of every agreeable quality was eaten at those sacrifices by large classes of people. At those sacrifices, the Brahmanas were respectfully worshipped and greatly gratified, and the regenerate classes ate sweetmeats and purikas and puras and apupas and sashkalis of good taste and large size, and karambas and pritumridwikas and diverse kinds of dainties and various kinds of soups, and Meireka and Raga Kandavas, and diverse kinds of confectionery, well prepared, soft, and of excellent fragrance, and clarified butter, and honey, and milk, and water, and sweet curds, and many kinds of fruits and roots agreeable to the taste. Excuse me. And they that were habituated to wine drank in due time diverse kinds of intoxicating drink for the sake of the pleasure that those produced, and sang and played upon their musical instruments. And others by thousands, intoxicated with what they drank, danced and merrily sang hymns to the praise of Ambarisha, while others, unable to keep themselves erect, fell down on the earth. In those sacrifices, King Amvarisha gave as sacrificial presents the kingdoms of hundreds and thousands of kings unto the 10 million priests employed by him. Having performed diverse sacrifices, the king gave unto the Brahmanas as sacrificial presents numbers of princes and kings whose coronal locks had undergone the sacred bath, all cased in golden coats of mail, all having white umbrellas spread over their heads, all seated on golden cars, and all attired in excellent robes, and having large trains of followers, and all bearing their scepters, and in possession of their treasuries. The great rishis, seeing what he did, were highly gratified, and said, none amongst men in past times did, none in the future will be able to do what King Ambarish of profuse liberality is doing now. When he, O Srinjaya, died, who was superior to thee in respect of the four cardinal virtues, and who, superior to thee, was much more superior to thy son, thou shouldst not, therefore, saying, O Swaitya, grieve for the latter, who performed no sacrifice and made no sacrificial present. Anyone up for the reading?
Where's Dina? Dina. Oh dear. Oh dear. I'll have a go.
Okay.
What chapter is it now?
It's 65, page 127 on
Okay.
yes.
You can see it's quite interesting, this bit, isn't it?
Yes.
Anyway. Where am I? There I am. Okay. So section 65 of the Drona Parva. Narada said, King Shashabindu, O Srinjaya, we hear, fell a prey to death, of great beauty and of prowess incapable of being baffled. He performed diverse sacrifices. That high-souled monarch had 100,000 wives. From each of those wives were born 1,000 sons. All those princes were endued with great prowess. They performed millions of sacrifices, accomplished in the Vedas. Those kings performed many foremost of sacrifices. All of them were cased on occasions of battle in golden coats of mail. All of them were excellent bowmen. All these princes, born of Shashabindu, performed horse sacrifices. Their father, O best of monarchs, in the horse sacrifice he had performed, gave away as sacrificial presents all those sons unto the Brahmins. Behind each of those princes were hundreds upon hundreds of cars and elephants and fair maidens decked and in ornaments of gold. With each maiden were 100 elephants, with each elephant 100 cars, with each car 100 steeds adorned with garlands of gold. With each of those steeds were 1,000 kine, and with each cow were 50 goats. The highly blessed Sasabindu gave away unto the Brahmanas in the great horse sacrifice of his such unlimited wealth. The king caused as many unsacrificial stakes of gold to be made for the great horse sacrifice of his, as is the number double of sacrificial stakes of wood in other sacrificial sacrifices of the kind. There were mountains of food and drink of the height of about 2 miles each. Upon the completion of his horse sacrifice, 13 such mountains of food and drink remained untouched. His kingdom abounded in people that were contented and well fed, and it was free from all inroads of evil, and the people were perfectly happy. Having ruled for many long years, Shashabindu at last ascended to heaven. When he died, O Sindaya, who was superior to thee in respect of the four cardinal virtues, and who was superior to thee who was superior to thee was therefore much more superior to thy son. Thou shouldst not, saying, O Swaitya, grieve for the latter, who performed no sacrifice and made no sacrificial present. Section 66. Narada said, Gaya, the son of Amartarayas, O Srinjaya, we hear, fell a prey to death. That king for 100 years ate nothing but what remained of the libations of clarified butter poured into the sacrificial fire. Agni, gratitude for proof of great devotion, offered to him to give him a boon. Gaya solicited the boon desired, saying, I desire to have thorough knowledge of the Vedas through ascetic penances, through practice of brahmacharya and of vows and rules, and through the grace of my superiors. I desire also inexhaustible wealth through practice of the duties of my own order and without injury to others. I wish also that I may always be able to make gifts unto the Brahmanas with devotion. Let me also procreate sons upon wives belonging to my own order and not upon others. Let me be able to give away food with devotion. Let my heart always delight in righteousness. O Agni, thou supreme cleanser, let no impediment overtake me while I am engaged in acts for the attainment of religious merit. Saying, so be it. Agni disappeared, and then and there, and Gaia also, acquiring all he had asked for, subjugated his foes in fair fight. King Gaia then performed for a full 100 years divers kinds of sacrifices with profuse presents unto the Brahmanas and the vows called Chaturmasyas and others. Every year, for a century, the king gave unto the Brahmanas 160,000 kine, 10,000 steeds, and 1 crore gold niskas upon rising. Niskas is medallions, gold medallions, on the completion of the sacrifices. Under every constellation also he gave away the presents ordained for each of these occasions. Indeed, the king performed various sacrifices like another Soma or another Angiras. In his great horse sacrifice, King Gaia, making a golden earth, gave her away unto the Brahmanas. In that sacrifice, the steaks of King Gaia were exceedingly costly, being of gold, decked with gems, delightful to all creatures. Capable of killing every wish, Gaia gave, killing every wish might be a typo. Gaia gave those steaks unto well-pleased Brahmanas and other people. The diverse classes of creatures dwelling in the ocean, the woods, the islands, the rivers, male and female, the waters, the towns, the provinces, and even in heaven, were all gratified with wealth and food distributed at Gaia's sacrifices. And they all said, no other sacrifice can come up to this one of Gaia. The sacrificial altar of Gaia was 30 yojanas in length, 26 yojanas in width, and 20 yojanas in height. And it was made entirely of gold and overspread with pearls, diamonds, and gems. And he gave away this altar unto the Brahmanas, as also robes and ornaments. And the munificent monarch also gave unto the Brahmanas other presents of the kind laid down in the scriptures. Upon the completion of that sacrifice, 25 hills of food remained untouched, and many lakes and several beautifully flowing rivulets of juicy drinks, and many heaps besides of robes and ornaments. And in consequence of the merit of that great sacrifice, Gaia came to be well known in the 3 worlds, and due to that sacrifice are the eternal Banyan and the sacred Brahmasara. When he died, Akshayavat, when he died, O Sunjaya, who was superior to thee in respect of 4 cardinal virtues, and who superior to thee was therefore much superior to thy son. Thou shouldst not, saying, O Swaita, grieve for the latter, who performed no sacrifice and made no sacrificial present. You want to have a little go more, Connor? I don't think Dina's going to be joining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Read a couple more and then I think we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a yagya, this one, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's quite something.
yeah.
Which section is it? Just remind me, please.
Section 67 now, about Rantideva.
How does it look in Roman numerals?
LXVII.
LXV. Okay. All right, I'm there. Narad said, Rantidev, the son of Srinjaya, we hear, fell a prey to death. That high-souled king had 200,000 cooks to distribute excellent food, raw and cooked, like unto Amrita, unto the Brahmanas, by day and by night, who might come to his house as guests. The king gave away unto the Brahmanas his wealth acquired by righteous means. Having studied the Vedas, he subjugated his foes in fair fight, of rigid vows, and always engaged in due performance of sacrifices. Countless animals, desirous of going to heaven, used to come to him of their own accord. So large was the number of animals sacrificed in the Agnihotra of that king that the secretions flowing from his kitchen, from the heaps of skins deposited there, caused a veritable river, which from this circumstance came to be called the Charmanwati. He incessantly gave away nishkas of bright gold unto the Brahmanas. I give thee nishkas, I give thee nishkas. These were the words incessantly uttered by him. I give thee, I give thee. Saying these words, he gave away thousands of nishkas. And once again, with soft words to the Brahmanas, he gave away nishkas. Having given away in course of a single day 1 crore of such coins, he thought that he had given away very little, and therefore he would give away more. Who else is there that would be able to give what he gave? The king
No.
gave away. Yes,
Nishkas are
yes,
like gold medals.
right.
You know, when like it goes round your neck and there's a gold coin.
Like
That's
a
what
medallion.
nishkas are. Yeah. So they're customary gifts to give, you know.
Ah,
Like if you give away some slave girls, you would give them away with wearing nishkas to make the proper charity. Sorry, carry on. But
right.
it was saying nishkas a lot there, so someone might want to know
Yeah,
what they are.
yeah. I mean, I didn't know. Yeah, that's good. The king gave away wealth, thinking, if I do not give wealth in the hands of Brahmanas, great and eternal grief, without doubt, will be mine. For 100 years, every fortnight, he gave unto thousands of Brahmanas a golden bull into each, followed by a century of kine and 800 pieces of nishkas, all the articles that were needed for his Agnihotra and all that were needed for his other sacrifices. He gave away unto the rishis, including karukas, and water pots, and plates, and beds, and carpets, and vehicles, and mansions, and houses, and divers kinds of trees, various kinds of viands. Whatever utensils and articles Rantidev possessed were of gold. They that are acquainted with the history of ancient times, seeing the superhuman affluence of Rantidev, sing this song, viz. We have not seen such accumulated treasures, even in the abode of Kuvera. What need be said, therefore, of human beings? And people wonderingly said, without doubt, the kingdom of Rantidev is made of gold. On such nights when guests were assembled in the abode of Rantidev, 120,000 kine was sacrificed for feeding them. And yet the royal cook, adorned with begemmed earrings, had to cry out, saying, "Eat as much soup as you like, for of meat there is not as much today as in other days. Whatever gold was left belonging to Rantidev, he gave even that remnant away unto the Brahmanas during the progress of one of his sacrifices. In his very sight the gods used to take the libations of clarified butter poured into the fire for them, and the pitris, the food that was offered to them in shraddhas. And all superior Brahmanas used to obtain from him the means of gratifying all their desires. When he died, O Srinjaya, who was superior to thee in respect of the four cardinal virtues, and who superior to thee was therefore much superior to thy son, thou shouldest not, saying, O Swaitya, grieve for the latter who performed no sacrifice and made no sacrificial present. Okay, I'll do one more. It's another short one. All right, and let's see where we are. Section, yeah, LX via III. It gets a bit odd, the Roman names. Narada said, Dushmanta's son, Bharata, Oceanjaya, we hear, fell a prey to death. While only a child, living in the forest, he achieved feats incapable of being achieved by others. Endued with great strength, he speedily deprived the very lions, white as snow and armed with teeth and claws, all their prowess, and dragged them and bound them at his pleasure. He used to check tigers also, that were fiercer and more ruthless than lions, and bring them to subjection. Seizing other beasts of prey possessed of great might, and even huge elephants, dyed with the red arsenic and spotted with other liquid minerals by their teeth and tusks, he used to bring them to subjection, causing their mouths to become dry, or obliging them to fly away. Possessed of great might, he used also to drag the mightiest of buffaloes, and in consequence of his strength, he checked proud lions by hundreds, and powerful shrimaras, and horned rhinoceroses, and other animals, binding them by their necks and crushing them to an inch of their lives. He used to let them go. For those feats of his, the regenerate ascetics with whom he lived came to call him Sarvadamana, the controller of all. His mother, at last, forbade him from torturing animals in that way. Endued with great prowess, he performed endued with great prowess, he performed 100 horse sacrifices on the banks of the Yamuna, 300 such sacrifices on the banks of Saraswati, and 400 on the banks of the Ganga. Having performed these sacrifices, he once more performed 1,000 horse sacrifices and 100 Rajasuyas, great sacrifices, in which his gifts also to the Brahmanas were very profuse. Other sacrifices, again, such as the Agnishtama, the Atiratra, the Ukta, and the Visvajit, he performed together with thousands of Vajrapayas, and completed without any impediment. The son of Sakuntala, having performed all these, gratified the Brahmanas with presents of wealth. Possessed of great fame, Bharata then gave 10,000 billions of coins made of the most pure gold unto Kanwa, who had brought up his mother, Sakuntala, as his own daughter. The gods with Indra at their head, accompanied by the Brahmanas coming to his sacrifice, set up his sacrificial stake, made entirely of gold, and measuring in width 100 vyamas, and imperial Bharata, of noble soul, that victor over all foes, that monarch never conquered by any enemy, gave away unto the Brahmanas beautiful horses and elephants and cars decked with gold and beautiful gems of all kinds, and camels and goats and sheep and slaves, male and female, and wealth and grains and milch cows with calves and villages and fields and diverse kinds of robes, numbering by millions and millions. When he died, O Srinjaya, who was superior to thee in respect of the four cardinal virtues, and who, superior to thee, was therefore much superior to thy son, thou shouldst not saying, Thou shouldst not, saying, O Swaita, grieve for the latter, who performed no sacrifice, and made no sacrificial present.
All right, we'll leave it there, Mathura. There's still a little bit more of this, what seems ever more like a digression of an interpolation.
Are you going to carry on a bit and finish this off?
No, I thought, because I do need to get to bed early, I thought it
Okay.
would be good if we start our next session with just the last bit of that, so we
Okay,
remember
you're the
where
guy.
we were.
Okay, I'll stop recording then.
Yeah.